I'm on now.
Okay, good.
But shouldn't that be on the
I don't know.
website?
I'll talk to you about that later.
But
you're
just
on.
mention to her, it should be on the website.
It is on, okay. I
It
don't
was
believe
it was not on the website. She had to send it to me from her private phone.
Okay, I'll chat with it. I'll take care of it after this meeting.
All right, bye.
Yeah. Cassie, I only gave you 6. Yeah, it's some. It's Steve. Oh, I have that. That's good.
I did bill before. That's. No, I fully capable of finding it on my own. That may be the thing. That may wouldn't be our responsibility.
See you tomorrow.
Ready?
All right, let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. Start with the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
Stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Madam Clerk, let the record reflect that all council members are in attendance. We are going to start the meeting with a presentation from Joe. And Joe, help me with your last name. I don't want to mispronounce it. Jason from the Jupiter Inlet District. So if you want to come to the podium and you can explain what's going on in the inlet for the last, seems like 30 days, among other things, I'm sure.
Thank you for letting me join your meeting tonight. Put together a presentation. Is there a advancer?
We'll do it for you.
Okay.
Sorry, we
Okay.
couldn't get out the box.
Yeah, I will. Thank you. So, yeah, thank you for letting me join you tonight. My name is Joe Chasen. I'm the Executive Director of the Jupiter Inlet District. How's that?
We're better.
All right. And I thought I would explain a little bit and set the stage, explain what the Jupiter Inlet District is. We are an independent special district. We were established by the state legislature in 1921. We just had our centennial a few years ago. And gosh, I don't know if you guys can all see this. I can barely see it.
No, we can't.
Yeah.
Can we pivot the table?
Absolutely. Yeah, me too.
Well.
We're like, we had to.
Yeah, I see. I see.
We literally had to pull one off the wall of the office. Yeah, we just want to make sure the commission is still safe.
How's that?
This way, Lou.
That's fine.
Little to the right.
That way?
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah. I think, I don't want to.
Or the other way, where you see it.
This is good.
Is that good?
So-
Full.
Don't worry.
I don't know, am I connected to anything?
No, I'm sure you'll.
Freestand.
Yeah.
Yes. Got it?
Okay,
Yep,
So-
cool.
we're an independent special district established by the state legislature in 1921. This shape that you see in this screen here is our district boundaries. We have a 92 square mile district boundaries that include all of Tequesta, all of Jupiter Inlet Colony, all of Jupiter, Juneau Beach, a small piece of Gardens, and a lot of unincorporated Palm Beach County. Within those district boundaries, we levy an ad valorem tax, a very small ad valorem tax that is the primary funding device for our operations. Our most recent millage was 0.0722 mils. For reference, I think in Colony, the millage is 5.5 or something like that, so a tiny fraction.
What's your total budget?
Our budget for this year, I don't remember it precisely, but it's either 3.9 million or 4.1, something like that. That millage generates about, I think it was gonna generate 2.7 million for this year. And we are governed, like yourselves, by a board of elected officials. We have 5 elected officials. And I thought I would also even set the stage a little more and discuss the inlet itself. The Jupiter Inlet is a natural inlet, or what we would refer to as a modified natural inlet. There's always been an inlet at Jupiter. Historically, it drained the waters of the Oxahatchee River, the Indian River, as well as Lake Worth Creek. And what happened in, I think it was the mid to late 1800s, when they cut the St. Lucie Inlet, that took a lot of the tidal volume, the tidal prism from Jupiter Inlet, and it began closing seasonally. It might close entirely for a year or two and then be open and close. And it was really, from what I read, very devastating on the area, not just from navigation or commerce, but it would actually have large fish die-offs, because you'd have a saltwater or a brackish water system that suddenly is freshwater, and it was very unpleasant. So that's why the Jupiter Inlet District came to be. I'm not going to go through all of these one by one, but the takeaway on this slide is that during the 40s, during the war, the inlet closed, and there was a decision made to leave it closed because of resources and worries, but it's been continuously open since 1947. And most of this presentation I cobbled together from other ones, but I put this slide together today because it shows. But this is an old plat of Jupiter Island from the Gomez Grant in the 1800s. And this right here, imagine it turned, you can see that lot there, a 600-foot wide lot of the island, was purchased with bonds by the Jupiter Inlet District in 1921, I believe, for $1,500. Yeah, and that is where the inlet is located today. Previously, it had been further south, about where the condos, where Ocean Trail is nowadays.
Location.
I'm not going to go through each one of these because I'm a board meeting person myself, so brevity is good. But I put this on here to show a little bit of scale. It's easy to focus on the throat of the Jupiter Inlet and the jetties, but we do projects up and down the Loxahatchee River and fairly far up the river. And I'm going to touch on each of these very later. But the largest thing we do and the biggest thing we do in any one year is the dredging of the inlet sand trap. That's going on right now as we speak. That's what these guys are doing there and down there. And that is to say that we dredge the sand trap inside the throat of the Jupiter Inlet and place the material on the downdrift beach from Jupiter Inlet. Yeah, the shoreline, the permitted placement template goes from about the second lifeguard stand down to the end of Carlin Park. And then when I say sand trap, you guys are pretty well educated. But it's, I always have to point out, it's not a thing, it's not a structure, it's just a rectangle drawn on a map that we excavate down to -22 every year. It's designed and optimized, but it's not a thing. So that's done, that work is done in conformance with our state approved inlet management plan. If you have an inlet in the state of Florida, you need to have an inlet management plan and manage the sediment of your inlet. How that's done is, it's a sediment budget. You basically are balancing the sand inputs and outputs, much like a budget, across your inlet system. And then our inlet management plan establishes a bypassing goal. So along this stretch of shoreline of Florida, sand primarily travels from north to south. The waves that cause sand to move, it's about 80% to 20% north to south. Yeah, southward direction 80% of the time and 20% of the time to the north. So we have a bypassing goal for our inlet of 81,000 cubic yards average annual volume placed on the downdrift beach. This picture is from today. There, of them operating right over there. And this here is that sand trap that we were talking about earlier. Now, these are that's the little Dubois breakwater snorkeling area. That's the rock jetty. There's the bathtub area. So the sand trap itself goes from here to here. It's about, I think it says this slide, but yeah, 6.5 acres, about 1,500 feet long, I believe. And I like this slide because this survey is, I think it's from the 2nd or the 3rd. It's from last week. And you can see where they had come in. This dredge is able to, they generally, not generally, they always work from west to east so that they're faced into these waves. These guys do it in 2 passes. They started on the south side, went to the end, and reset on the north side and made it to the end. And then just while they were operating, all of this came in the inlet. That's about a 10-foot wedge of sand back into the inlet already that they're cleaning up as we speak. That's exactly where they're operating. This year, we measured 126,000 cubic yards in our sand trap, which you might have heard me say 81,000 earlier. It's a very big number for us. We've never measured that much this early in the year. We've been seeing a real trend of increased volumes in the area. I'm glad to say that this year we had moved up our cycle a couple of months earlier, and we were glad for it. Just before they started, that shoal that has been popping up in the middle of the inlet, it popped right back up again, but it was a nice answer to be able to say, yeah, we're starting dredging Saturday. So they're about finished. We'll see. I think their volume as of today was 116,000 cubic yards. They don't get every single bit, but they're doing well. It's Atlantic and Gulf dredging. This is the 3rd time they've won our bid. They're a local firm. They do well. The cost was $1.4 million, 100,000 cubic yards. You know, we have to put the bid out early enough to be able to award bond, all mobilize and start. So we kind of have to guess how much is going to be in the trap. So it'll end up being greater than 1.4 million, but that was the award amount. Okay, then I think I'm just going to touch on some other subjects because I'm going to talk about the district, but probably if you have time, be glad to answer any questions. Yeah, so we do this project, but we also We did that mangrove island restoration that's west of the railroad bridge and the river embayment, as we call it. It's been really successful. It was this mangrove island, well, there used to be two, and one disappeared completely after Francis and Jean. So we put together a project to protect the remaining mangrove island. It's been very successful. This is sort of a time scale of the seagrass coverage of the area. It's really protected the area and had a big explosion of seagrass, and the mangroves are a lot healthier within there. Another project that, like doesn't really, it's a more of a passive project, but we partnered with Florida East Coast Rail. It was all aboard Florida at the time before it became Brightline, to increase the clearance underneath one of the spans of the replacement railroad bridge. And that really significantly took the strain off of this Basque Bridge. Is down 16 times 2 is 32, no less than 32 times a day. And it's had a real impact on navigation in the area. But not all of the vessels can get under this enhanced clearance span. It has 8 feet at high tide and 10 feet at low tide. So we had calculated that 72% of the vessels transiting the area can get under here. So it's helped take the pressure off of the increased train traffic. We also, you might have seen on that one aerial, a lot of projects much further up the river. In the 90s, the Inlet District had started a oxbow restoration program up there. And here are some aerials from our most recent project to restore the historic flows of the Waxahachie River. And the one that I really like a lot, we had partnered with the Bureau of Land Management, but really Jupiter Inlet District had designed, bid and paid for the construction of that little living shoreline project along the south facing shoreline by the lighthouse. It was the Inlet District had looked at the Waxahachie River and noticed an increasing trend towards hardening shorelines and had wanted to be an advocate for living shorelines and had landed on the idea of building this demonstration project here. That was finished in 2021. I think it's been very successful. We're not involved in any way with the ongoing project along the, you could call it the Indian River shoreline, the east facing shoreline there. Here's just some before and after pictures. That area was very highly erosive, just like this area, and it was very unproductive. It was just mowed grass to mud flats. And now with the breakwaters and the plantings, it's doing really well over there. And those are the slides. I figured there'd be a lot of questions.
I'll turn to the commission. Any questions?
Question, are you aware of what the Jupiter Narrows project that they're restoring the mangroves north of the bridge?
Yeah,
And have you worked with them? And
I've spoken with them, talked with them and helped them to understand the processes. One interesting difference between a district and a special purpose governmental unit, which we are, and a general purpose government, is that you guys can do anything that you're not prohibited from doing. You could build a park, you could do things. As a special district, we can only do the things that are listed in our enabling legislation. Our legislation specifically calls out the Jupiter Inlet and the Waxahachie River. Strictly speaking, that area is the Indian River. So we, it'd be a question for our lawyer, but I think when they approached us, the consensus was that's outside of our charter. But we're aware of it. I think they just got their state permit recently. Yeah.
okay, thank you.
Sharon, do you have any questions? I have one question. If you recall, I was in front of your body
Yeah.
18 months ago or so, probably, maybe it was a little longer, I don't remember. And we talked about the legalities involved in having your permit require you through DP to put all the sand to the south. I recall somebody said in that Dade County, the state has changed in one of the inlets the state has allowed that inlet to pump the sand to the north. And I know it would fundamentally be a shift. For you, you'd have to change your state mandated plan and DEP would have to do that. But am I mistaken in somebody bringing that up? I recall someone bringing that up down in Dade County, but there's been a shift.
I don't recall it being Dade County. I know another municipality in Palm Beach County that is on an inlet is looking at having a management plan revised. So I don't know if I shared that or when I shared that with you, but
Okay.
I'm not aware. of
I may
when
be
we did.
mistaken. I'm not, yeah, I
Yeah.
could certainly be mistaken, but, and I recall your attorney at that meeting said that you could not do that. But if you change your management plan and it gets sanctioned by DEP, you could do that, could you not?
You don't have to go as far as Miami. St. Lucie Inlet has a northern component. Yeah, they have, I don't remember the numbers. Let's say it's 200 apples to the south and 15 to the north or something like that. And that was a mathematical output of their
Okay.
inlet study.
Okay, and they underwent, I would assume, a revision to their plan and it was endorsed by DEP. So it would not be impossible to accomplish something like that if there were a change in conditions or some other change that would require or satisfy a DEP regulation, right?
Yes, I remember, I'm gonna help our lawyer here. How often does that happen? All the time. I bet you he said, we currently can't do that. We're not permitted to. There's no
Right.
replacement template there. But if there was, it's not an impossibility.
How often do you revise that plan?
Well, we hadn't revised it since '92. We most recently revised it in 2023 after I came.
And so what's the requirement to, is there a state requirement that you have to refile that plan?
No.
Is there a state requirement that you have to modify the plan?
No.
So you can keep this certain plan forever if you chose,
Many do.
then you do.
Yeah.
Unless there's a change in your board government.
Yeah, we voluntarily updated it a couple of years ago because it was time.
And is that a public hearing event?
There's a technical advisory committee. It's a very public process.
And who's on that technical
You
advisory?
guys were,
I am?
yeah, the Colony was.
That must have been the prior administration. So talk to me a little bit about that and how that is appointed and what's that process?
There is, even though we would kind of initiate the process, it's run by the state. And it's a mathematical exercise. You take your survey data and you look at it and what's going on. For instance, in that most recent IMP update, our bypassing goal went from 75,000 cubic yards to 81,000 cubic yards. And then as part of the process, you send the TAC meetings, technical advisory committees. And those would be adjacent municipalities, stakeholders. In our case, I may forget somebody here, but I think it would have been ourselves, Palm Beach County, Colony, Tequesta, Jupiter, Pine.
Yeah.
That may be Fish and Wildlife or something.
And
like
so
that.
wouldn't you agree that if your requirement is to pump 81,000 cubic yards down, this year you're doing 120,000, you're clearly fulfilling your commitment. Wouldn't you think maybe that some of that sand, at least this year, could have been pumped further north?
We couldn't. have-
No, I know you can't, but if your commitment is 81,000,
And that's an
and you-
average annual.
average annual, and this year you're doing 120,
Almost double.
130, it's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, wouldn't you think that we could put some on the north?
Yeah, but the year before I started, we did 27,000 cubic yards, so it is variable,
When did you start?
19,
19.
2019.
And so what would be the average annual sand out of the inlet for the last 10 years?
I don't know, but over the last, I think since 2020, it's averaged 60,000 cubic yards a year.
So back to the technical committee. So it involves all the communities. Obviously, I mean, I can speak for myself. I clearly wasn't aware that the town. When do you envision having another technical advisory?
You're not allowed to do it in less than think you're required to compile at least 5 years of data before you're allowed
To do another one.
Yeah,
And remind me of the date of the last one, 20.
it was 23 or 24.
All right, so we're a couple of years away.
Yeah.
Okay, I know, hopefully Heidi, you're here in 28.
Joe, too.
And Joe, yeah.
I was gonna- yeah.
Maybe Joe doesn't want to be here, I don't know.
We both
But
love it.
You see where I'm going with my
Yeah,
question.
definitely should do it.
So, I don't know weather patterns, things change, but clearly in the last couple of years, things have changed for, I would say from the Martin County line down, specifically Palm Beach County to West and Jupiter Lake Colony should clearly have a seat at the table, and we want to make sure that I think our interests are represented as part of that technical review committee to preserve the shoreline here. I understand shores are dynamic, but if you're pumping 120,000 cubic acres or yards downstream, it seems to me, just as I sit here, that some could come up on the north side as well. So I look forward to participating or having the town participate in that process. I have no further questions. I want to thank you for coming here tonight. I would encourage the residents, if you want to talk to Joe, because we have a meeting to run, I don't want to have 25 minutes of questioning. Please, I'm sure he'll give you 10 or 15 minutes outside or whatever you'd like, because I don't want to get mired down in 15 questions when we've got to run the rest of the meeting, okay? Thank you so much for your time tonight. I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the commission and staff reports. So, Madam Town Manager.
Absolutely. So just to piggyback on Joe's presentation, I have been communicating with, a manager of another small coastal community about putting together a coalition of our small coastal communities here in Palm Beach County. So these type of conversations is kind of what's leading to that coalition, as that other municipality is dealing with this as well.
Yeah.
So just to
Good.
piggyback on that.
Good.
A couple updates. As you can see, I've been working closely with our communications consultant. Kelly will be giving an update as well at this meeting, but you've seen our property tax reform series that's been going out. I believe it's been well received. I've seen some residents who have reached out to our legislative delegation over the weekend and today. So it's really great that people are taking action. I'm also proud to share that the Florida League of Cities has actually highlighted our first in the series on their website in the toolkit for other cities. So
that's
we're in
great.
good company with some larger cities or different types of cities. But we are right there at the top of the list of how you should communicate with your residents. So I'm proud of that.
Yeah, should be. That's.
Yeah, so the North Walkway is under construction. We'll talk about it a little later, but while I have everyone's attention, I want to remind our residents to not go on to the walkway. It is an active construction site, which means that there's about an 8 to 10 foot drop at any given time down there. So just everyone, please be safe. I wanted to highlight some finances real quick. We're on track, as you can see in our backup with the finances. But in terms of investments, I started to diversify our investments this past year. So in August 2025, I moved $500,000 over to the state investment pool for public entities. With that move, they have an aggressive rate of return that we would get at 3.88. So we've made 11,500 over there since August. In May, we opened a small money market account as part of our relationship with Synovus. And we've made $3,000 over there. And with us changing our checking account to Synovus in December 2024, we've made 36,000 there. So when you put it together, it doesn't all line up from one date, but since December 2024, the town's made over $50,000 in interest just on passive income sitting there in the bank. We're going to continue to diversify and move money around. Now that both Yvonne and I have a better handle on what our true expenses are every month, as we are operating correctly. So we will continue to find ways to maximize our investments with moving more money over to the state pool, which has the higher rate of return. There is no penalty when you take the money out, so we can even every, quarter move over what we need to cover our expenses, which is our goal. And then I just want to highlight some upcoming events. This Thursday, 5:30 at Town Hall, we have the Resilience Action Plan Workshop. Everyone is invited. It is an interactive workshop, so there will be a short, about 20-minute presentation, and then you will have an opportunity to go to 4 different stations and give your feedback on what exists in the town. Next Tuesday at 11 o'clock is a social committee meeting at Town Hall. They're always looking for volunteers. Thursday, February 19th is Pizza in the Park with our police department from 5 to 7:30. Please RSVP to Chrissy. That has been in our email blast. And for the first time, we're doing a Shred It and Household Hazardous Waste event on Saturday, February 21st. This will be a drive-up event. We will be out there taking things out of your car, so you don't even need to spend too much time there. Any papers will go into the shredder. We'll collect expired medications or any medications you want to get rid of. Paint, gasoline, your grill tanks, LP tanks, anything you have. Our police department will be doing runs to the hazardous waste drop off, but you'll see the shredder truck there. And that's it for my report, unless you have any questions. And next month, I wanted to share that we'll have County Commissioner Maria Marino here, as well as Dr. Justin from Loggerhead. So we'll have 2 presentations next month, but both are timely.
Okay. I'll turn to the commissioners. Is there any questions of the town manager? See none. I have on here the stormwater assessment update.
We do, Lori was supposed to be here, but got stuck. She is on screen, and we also have Kelly ready to do the legislative update.
Okay, what's the pleasure of the commission? Do you want to do those now, or do you want to? Yeah, okay, let's go ahead and do the stormwater. If she's on the phone, if she's capable, go ahead.
She's on the screen right now.
Okay.
Hi, sorry I couldn't make it up there.
That's certainly fine. We understand how traffic can be on 95, at least I can.
Yeah, I
You
had
wanna go
another
ahead?
meeting run over.
Introduce yourself for the record and I guess kind of frame up as you understand from the town manager and our town attorney, the issue that we had at hand, and then we can go from there.
Okay, my name is Lori Smith-Lala. I'm a partner at Weiss Sirota Healthman Colin Bierman. So I am also with the same firm as your city attorney, town attorney. I do public finance for the firm and do a lot of transactions for municipalities when they have debt need and refinancing needs. I spoke with your town manager. I did get a copy of the letter from Truist saying that they're calling their put option on the bonds at the end of this year. So the first thing that I suggest that you do is to engage an outside financial advisor that will assist you with getting proposals from banks. And I hear Synovus is one of the type of banks that actually puts in for these kind of refinancings. I have talked to 2 financial advisors. One of them that I'm recommending is PFM Financial Advisors. They are actually the financial advisors for both the town of Jupiter and the town of Jupiter Inlet. So they're very familiar with the area, and I think will be very beneficial to the town. What we would do is take a look at the loan documents. I have to get the transcripts of both loan documents and see exactly what dates and everything that we need to do the refinancing. We also would need to take a look at the underlying assessments that are paying back these loans to make sure that if we do a refinancing, if the interest rates on this loans are very low and most likely will not get the same results in a refinance. So we need to make sure that the assessments will cover the debt service for these loans. One question I did have from the financial advisor was, why are there two separate loans? Are there two separate assessment areas?
It's one assessment area. I don't know why there were two loans.
Okay. Okay, that's something we could take a look at because it would be easier to roll them all into one loan as opposed to two separate loans.
Just, Lori, if I may jump in, it's Heidi. I want to clarify something for people in the room. There were three loans. There was one for the
Okay.
undergrounding of the, two for the stormwater. So for those, that when our residents who are in the room received, it was only for one assessment. So one assessment, two loans. I
Right.
don't know why. And they had two different interest rates also. I think that's important too.
Yeah, that's what I saw. That's why I was curious as to whether or not they were two separate, sub areas. Sometimes, you have a stormwater in one area that's different for some reason than another area of the town, and you make separate districts because they have separate benefits. But we'll take a look at all the assessment documents as well and make sure that when we're revising the documents that we will stay hopefully within, the same range.
Is Synovus going to be one of our financial advisors, or have you talked to that?
They wouldn't be the financial advisor. They would be perhaps a lender.
Provider?
Yes.
A lender, yeah. And the financial advisors and lenders have to be separate. There's different disclosures and everything for each of those roles. So that's why I'd advise you to have a separate, financial advisor.
How are the financial advisors compensated?
They are compensated out of proceeds of the financings. So we would include their fee as well as any fee for myself as bond, if I'm, refinancing it as bond counsel, so I can give the tax exempt status on the note. I have that capability and would be able to do that for the town.
And also, as our finance consultant, CRI, Yvonne's firm cannot be our financial advisor, but she would be the go-between to talk to them.
Yeah, so it'd be helpful, and I know that we're not gonna know what the underwriting costs are gonna be until we get proposals and what the interest rates are. But I think it's just super helpful to know what all the fees that are involved in the refinancing transaction. You may not have the exact dollar amount, but this is not a large.
The financial advisor did quote me a minimum fee of $18,500, which is very reasonable.
So that's helpful. And then obviously we're gonna have underwriting costs with lawyers, and then they get their piece, straight. Can you remind everybody the idea of the time we're dealing with here?
December is when we need to be refinanced by, so we have plenty of time, and Lori's confident that this is when we talked before that we have plenty of.
Okay, good. All right, so Lori, what do you see as the next steps here? Hire a financial advisor, number one.
Yeah, I would, if you'd like to, you could even, make a motion tonight and direct the town attorney to enter into an agreement with the financial advisor, and we could get that ball rolling so we could all take a look at, both myself and the financial advisors, taking a look at, you know, the assessment and, you know, the financing terms, and to go out with an RFP or a request for interest from the banks.
I would almost like to see another proposal on the finance, and I mean, if we have two, sounds like we can get to pretty quickly before I make a.
Yes,
before would do-
yeah, I do have to. The Public Resources Advisory Group was significantly higher.
Okay. Have you seen them?
No, I have not seen them.
Can you?
Yeah,
forward those
I have an email from both of them.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, forward those over to Heidi, and maybe Heidi, you can distribute those to the commission if you don't mind. I want to look at them before I spend $18,000 of taxpayer money to determine kind of, we have to do this, so it's not a function of, you know, it's not a function of.
No, I
whether or not we
understand.
do it. Yeah,
I'll
okay,
make sure it's on the March 9th agenda. I also received a little information that there were two loans apparently, because one was for stormwater, one was for roads. However, it was one assessment district, so I'm not even sure what the relationship was for that. Because the ordinance that established the assessment addresses both.
okay. Okay, so why don't we do that? We'll, something more formal for March 9th. We'll get
Yeah.
these proposals in front of us, and maybe if somebody could just kind of detail what we believe the costs of the refinancing are going to be, and maybe even a time frame associated with implementing it, that, I think that would be super helpful. Is there any other questions that any of the other commissioners have?
Sounds good. That's when we can turn around then and generate a motion to move forward.
That's right.
Yes, next month.
Perfect. Okay. Okay, super. So we'll move on to the town clerk. I'm
Can we
sure-
have Kelly do a quick?
Oh, yes,
presentation
Kelly,
on
please. Yes.
Legislative
Sorry.
matters.
Yes. Communications.
She'll go fast.
Sorry.
I will, and if I talk too fast, I'm happy to do any one-on-ones later, because I know the mayor loves the lightning rounds. In front of you, you'll have this 15-page memo. It was not in your agenda backup previously for several reasons. Number one, it's nighttime reading. It's better than melatonin. Number two, I want to do just a top 10 off of this for you and put a big asterisk and caveat on this memo. This will be obsolete in a week. However, if any member of the public would like a copy, you're more than welcome to one. I left some out here for you. And thanks to Heidi as well for helping me resort and reorder and go through bills. We are at the halfway point of session. That's the good news. If they end on time, which is the 60-day session, we are halfway through. There are about 1,800 bills that have been filed. The Florida League of Cities version of the document I just gave you is more than 100 pages. Yours is 15 pages because Heidi and I sorted it through the lens of what specifically affects this town the fastest and the most serious. So I'm going to do kind of a top 10 off this memo and invite Heidi, because I know she's got different bills for different reasons that I don't know about yet in her top 5. And then the back half of that 15 pages, please note, is only property tax reform. I'm going to leave that alone for a minute because you're being satiated on email about property tax reform. We've got that in a silo with guardrails in a paced fashion for the residents, and hope if we're losing anyone or you don't know what something means, tell us, we'll fix it, we'll adjust. We would love to do that. This is all an experiment. We're painting a plane in flight here because session has already started before I joined up. The back half of that memo I said is property tax form. I will come back to that in a second, but super briefly. Tonight, I only want to focus on the substantive policy bills, so everything except property tax reform. That's what I'm going to pull my top 10 from. So going through this very quickly, page 1, the very first bill is accessory dwellings unit. You're going to hear about this more and more. For the public, those are granny flats, carriage houses, guest houses. There are some provisions that would preempt the town from being able to regulate, permit, and look at some certain things in construction. This is a recycled bill from last year that died in the last few days of session. So I mentioned that to say this. This has a very good possibility, so of passing. So when we choose, when Heidi and I choose in consultation with you all through Heidi, working with you, maybe a half a dozen or so we end up engaging on, but we wait until it gets a little more mature in the process. But I wanted you to have this so you know what's on our short list at this moment. That's where I'm pulling my top 10 from. So regulation of accessory dwelling units, very important. At the bottom of page 2, some good news that I'm putting in my top 10. You will now have the ability to do your legal notices on your website instead of paying for them elsewhere. And you all know that that also becomes cumbersome, and it would be a wonderful thing for your clerk to be able to avail herself of that as well. Next page, page 3, in the middle of the page, local government land development regulations and orders. This is going to prohibit lot splits, requiring you to just kind of go along to get along in some things that happen with construction. So we're going to watch this one very carefully. We're still picking that one apart, to be honest with you. But I have a cheat sheet if you have certain information. If you have certain questions, excuse me. Page 4, also the middle of the page. If you remember and I know that you do, remember the horrific Parkland High School shooting. This bill is perennial as well, mandating consolidated centralized call centers for emergency 911 would be a significant administrative change for your police force. I'm sure that they could ameliorate to it, but just to let you know that would be a bit of a lift. Next page, page 5, almost at the bottom, wanted to highlight the fact that here again, the legislature is attempting to help local governments, in this case specifically as it relates to the removal, storage, and cleanup of electric vehicles. The residents might remember that on the West Coast during Hurricane Ian, there were some horrible tragedies with electric vehicles self-igniting on fire. So that house would burn down to the ground and it would take the one next to them because there was either no way to get in to address the fire, or people were still evacuated and nobody knew there was a house on fire. So there's a lot of attention now in the legislature with electric vehicles and trying to assist you on the local level. Next page, just an FYI toward the top, the one-liner bill there about term limits. There seems to be a renewed effort to have term limits on county commissioners and school board members of 12 years. We have some county commissioners in the state of Florida serving 20 and 30 years, and the legislature has its own term limits now of 8 years and believes local governments should get in on the act. At the bottom of that page, page 6, local government tort claims. These are any claims that come against you. There are per incident caps and per person caps. The legislature is attempting to double and triple those. We'll watch this one. It's probably going to become a bit of a horse trading mechanism at the 11th hour between leadership. Potentially, we'll watch that. Going to page 7, skipping down to the middle of the page. I know you all have seen in the news how the chief financial officer would like to have more audit control over local governments. So this is a bill that would enshrine his ability to do that and expand it. I will say the Florida League of Cities, as you can see there, I mentioned, is strongly opposed to this bill, and so we will pace our activity and watch their signals. The 2 tourist development tax bills under that, these are number 9 in my top 10. I guess I'm going in reverse order. Tourist development tax, when they release funds that are obligated for certain things in the tourist development tax world, sometimes it allows those monies to then help local governments with things like beach nourishment. So we will watch how these mature as well and see if we have an opportunity with Heidi's great work on the resiliency action plan and other elements to see if we can have an intergovernmental conversation there. At the bottom of that page, blue ribbon projects. This is a term you're going to hear a lot in the press in the last 3, 4, 5 months, next 3, 4, 5 months. This concerns major tracts of land in the state of Florida, and it would give them more development rights for those major tracts. I think that is 10. How'd I do, Mayor? Lightning round?
That's pretty good.
Okay, So if you have any other questions for bills I did not cover, please, by all means, ask Heidi and she can, task me. The back half of that memo with property tax reform, the residents in particular have been great about starting to engage. That can go on, that is evergreen. The Florida League of Cities, as Heidi mentioned, knows that you have engaged. They are appreciative. I will repeat something that when I was a legislative aide a long time ago, there was a farmer who was a legislator, and property tax reform obviously wasn't going on back then, but something that he loved to say is really apropos right now. If you are being chased by a taxidermist, do not play dead. I just want to commend your town manager, all of you, for being supportive and engaging really quickly, but in a way that is judicious, which I think we need to continue. We need to cite our own data, tell our own story, and to the extent that I can help with that and have been helping Heidi with that, I'm honored. So I don't know if you have any other questions about something maybe I have not brought up, but that was, Heidi said, keep it short and sweet, top shelf, and see if they have any questions that they want to go down the rabbit hole on.
I think you're great.
Very many questions.
No, thank you.
Thank you for all the hard work, and Heidi, I would also echo all the work that you're doing around this. It's super important to our residents, and I think the email blasts are great. I think more information is always better, and the more communication is better, because it usually does take 2 or 3 times before people will listen. So this is great in terms of my melatonin reading. I'll take a look at this. Thank you so much. Yeah. Okay, town clerk.
The election is March 10th for seat 4, Sharon Severin and Anna Nemes. It's at 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. at Town Hall. The deadline to request a vote by mail ballot to mail to you is Thursday, February 26th. Anybody has any questions about the election, you can contact me.
Okay, thank you so much. Any questions of the clerk? Okay. Town attorney?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I do have a couple things. I don't have 10 points like Kelly, but I do have 2 litigation matters that I want to discuss. And I think, I'm sure as the commission knows, and just so the public knows as well, the way litigation is handled with the town, we go through the insurance carrier. So it's through the Florida League of Cities. I do not handle litigation. My firm does not handle the litigation. The Florida League of Cities, the insurance carrier, picks their attorney who handles each of these cases. And there are 2 cases that have recently gotten resolved. One of those is the Bondare case, which is a case that's been going on for quite some time. It's 17 years, actually, 2009. It started out as a short-term rental property dispute. There was a deck action that the town brought as to whether or not it applied to the code, which the town lost. And then there was a counterclaim with inverse condemnation and several other claims. Most of those claims through the trial court, through the appeals, they all got resolved. There was one last claim, a tortious interference claim that wasn't resolved. And through outside counsel, spoke with Heidi and I, and they said, look, we feel good about it. We think we have some good defenses to it, some legal defenses like sovereign immunity. But at the end of the day, they said, look, it'll cost us well over $15,000 to defend against this. So the insurance carrier decided to settle it for $15,000. And that's a 2009 case. The second case, I think, is a little bit different. This is a more recent case. This is the Freeman case. This is a 2023 case. I'm sure as most people know, this was a dispute over former police officer who claims based on racial discrimination was passed over as police chief, among other things. Again, this was handled by outside counsel through the insurance company. And I want to emphasize too, that it was also at the time, Heidi obviously wasn't here. I clearly wasn't here. It was a different town commission, a different administration. And so at the end of the day, they decided to settle that case for $580,000. And again, that was the insurance carrier that chose to settle that case. And I know the mayor has some thoughts on this.
Well, the positive thing here is to defend the town, one, didn't cost us, the taxpayers, anything. And then also that's also true of the settlement amount. And while it is somewhat stunning, but I gotta tell you that clearly it happened under a previous administration with previous municipal employees that were clearly unprofessional. If anybody wants to read, the public documents associated with this case, it is somewhat unsettling, some of the things that went on under a previous administration. And, frankly, it didn't help that in a deposition, our previous strong mayor made references to this town being racist. So it put the town in a very difficult position. It put the insurance carrier in a very difficult position. And frankly, we had new administration, a new police chief, new employees. And I am assured that type of behavior would not be tolerated today, and would clearly be taken care of and addressed immediately, so that we as taxpayers and our insurance carriers would not be put in a position to do a similar settlement. It's disappointing that this type of behavior went on. It's disappointing that the town was put in this position by a previous elected official and some paid employees. But it's time to move on and look forward, and I'm confident that we have the proper professionals in place to run this town the right way. Okay, commission reports. Commissioner Shula, do you have anything you would like to bring up?
Yes, I was fortunate to receive a 2-day civics lesson in Tallahassee with I will call her our town manager, Professor Heidi Siegel, of government and civics. We spent 2 days in Tallahassee. Was very impressed with her knowledge of how to navigate the different literal hallways and buildings throughout the area. And we had some very meaningful meetings, basically in 2 areas. One, with the DEP, we met with 3 of their top level people to talk about what the options are for us going forward long-term on beach renourishment. What's the best way to handle that? Is it dredging offshore and sending sand our way, or potentially, as we talked tonight about from the district, getting sand from our own channel right here? Is it revetment, and what type? And coordinating between all the different municipalities between here and there's an 11-mile stretch down to Nathaniel Reed Park at the end of Beach Road. And Jupiter Island has a plan, Coral Cove, town of Tequesta, which is Coral Cove would be county, and then of course ourselves. So why not look at that as an entirety and try to figure out the best way to handle beach renourishment, which with the DEP people seem to indicate that was the best way to go, as opposed to revetment or any other ways. So that was very interesting. It'll be a very long process. We are on the way there with our grant to do a study that we'll get the results from it in September, and that will continue to open doors and turn pages, and it's a slow process, but I feel very good about the direction that it's heading. One question that we asked the DEP folks was, you read and hear about, for example, in North Carolina, houses washing into the ocean, and in California, the same thing. And you hear that some of the government folks are saying, you know what, those houses, those structures should never have been built there. Let them go. So I pointedly asked, what is the philosophy of the DEP here in Florida? And they emphatically said that they want to restore the beaches, nourish the beaches, and continue to rebuild and keep beaches as viable as they are. So that was very good to hear from them. So on that. And then the second issue, we met, about property tax. We went up there and had a great meeting with Florida League of Cities. Very impressed with the folks at the state level there. Kelly did a great job of summarizing, you know, what, some of the issues that they have to follow. 1,800 bills is just mind boggling. They're very focused on property tax and how it would affect us. They asked us to, me in particular, to speak in front of the State Affairs Committee, and when they were presenting a property tax proposal, which over 10 years would eliminate property taxes, and how it would affect us as Jupiter Colony and the financial ramifications. Heidi and the Florida League of Cities were great in giving me talking points. There were a number of people there talking in front of the committee. They limited everybody to 2 minutes. A lot of folks from more from a social concern about what about our parks? What about social services? What about roads and then fire and police were also represented. So our end of it was more of a small town, higher end community that has no commercial outlets and no other ways of basically getting revenue other than our property taxes. So think that got some coverage. That was in a couple of publications, and hopefully it made some sense to those folks. And afterwards, we had a senator or a legislator come up to us and say, on the Republican side, the Republicans all sat there saying, "You are all the Democrats. You asked a lot of questions about the Republican presenting this bill, and all the Republicans sitting over here asked no questions." And they were like, you know, following the orders of their leader. And afterwards, one of the Republicans came over and said, you know, "I'm not for this. I can't say anything about it now." So that was interesting. And then we had a very good meeting with our Senator Harrell, who represents us here. And she basically said that on the Senate side, there is no momentum, nothing going on as far as property tax at all. And the way I learned over my civics lesson 2 days up there was that, you know, the House presents a bill, then the Senate has to present a bill that matches that. And then they have to come together and agree and then pass it and present it to the governor. Well, right now, there's no momentum whatsoever on the Senate side for property tax reform. And hopefully it'll stay that way. So, but as Kelly said, and Heidi has said, you know, we need to continue to advocate, send out the emails. I saw some today that were sent out to our representatives to let them know, you know, that we're aware of this and it's important to us. And it's something that would be devastating for our community. Our way of life here would dramatically change. So, and that was it.
Great. Very good. Janet, yeah. Sharon, anything?
Well, I was just thinking that given what's happening across the inlet in Gelona, it would be a lovely idea if each of our residents' houses donated 2 trees to the refurbishment of the lighthouse property. So I'm just suggesting that as a possible idea.
And Mayor, just to follow up, we plan to share that information on Wednesday's email blast.
Okay.
And it will be embedded in there.
Thank you. Okay, I skipped the interim chief of police, so I figured I'd give Bob an opportunity.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight, Ryan McAllister will present a
Okay, thank you.
detailed presentation.
Good evening.
Make a little room. Good evening, Commissioner. Mayor. Well, broader than some of the other presenters. Just wanted to give everybody an update. It's been a very fast-paced 3 weeks. So we've really hit the ground running. I dare to say dove in head first. Fortunately, there are no rocks. So everything that we've
And it's not shallow.
It is not. But everything that the police department's been doing has been up to par. I've been doing complete policy reviews, looking at daily activities, working with the town manager to kind of see what the needs for the commission are, what the needs of the community are, and really getting out there and speaking to people, whether it's Gelona, having people visit my office, giving out the RFID cards in the station. It's just been a pleasure getting to know everybody and have these conversations coming in new. What you did get in your packets are the reports for the month of January, a little more detailed. I just wanted to give you an idea of what your police department is doing on a monthly basis, and this will end up in a year-end report, and everybody will get an annual report from the police department moving forward, which will document all of our activities, what type of calls we're taking, and how we're handling those calls. What's not on here is training. I've been doing a lot of research on training. There's going to be training coming up, and that will go into that report as well. I'll let you guys look over. I just wanted to give you a very high-end view of everything. There's an executive summary, kind of the key metrics of what the police department is doing. And there's some diagrams and stuff in there just to kind of look at how we're diversifying the calls for service and what's proactive versus the calls for service we're getting, which it's about 50-50. So that's a good place to be. Moving forward, we already have a lot of stuff kind of in process. The annual exercise tabletop for our hurricanes is going to be coming up. We've been working on all those. We're putting out a workbook for the community in terms of hurricane preparedness. I sent drafts over to Heidi for that today. And we're also going to be putting together a senior and vulnerable resident emergency contact list. So that way, in the event that there is a hurricane, you guys end up staying or leaving, we can be notified. We know what your needs are. If we need to get people in faster to help you after the storm has passed, we'll be able to do that and really help build this out on a priority basis. Everything else being said, though, it's been a pleasure getting to know everybody. I'm looking forward to moving forward with everybody in the community, and I'm very happy to be here. And I'm proud of the work that the police department's been doing. So thank you. That'll conclude my report, and I'm open for any questions.
Questions? Just a comment. I particularly like the letter of recognitions. I thought that's a nice touch. I mean, it shows obviously good leadership, but it's also, I think, good for us to see the good deeds that go unseen all the time as well. So I particularly like the letters, and I thought that was a nice touch. The stats are the stats, but the letters kind of personalize it. Again, it's nice to see the good work that the folks in the police department do every single day.
Yeah, we appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, I don't have any reports, so we'll move on to public comment. I have one card. Lori Michael Jacobs. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak tonight? Okay, seeing none. You have 3 minutes.
Good evening. As people who experienced a lot of anti-Semitism and racism, I'm happy to hear that this commission and the mayor have decided to acknowledge it and try to move beyond it. In 2001, we had a horrible experience. And I'm very happy to hear that there will be no more retaliation for any alternative beliefs in this community. My husband and I have lived here since 1997, at which point we put a fence in. In 2001, we tore our house down. The fence stayed, but we were asked to do a separate permit because in 2001, we were undergoing quite a bit of retaliation and anti-Semitism. There was a gentleman by the name of T.R. Hernecki who came out every single day with a laser and made sure that we were on point for everything, surveyed every single day to make sure we were on point. Recently, as you all know, there was a horrible, I call it a tsunami wave, but prior to that, the South Walkway was replaced with no permit, no survey. I've asked for public records. I've also asked for the public records from our home, and they have been destroyed, which is technically illegal because new properties and new home construction must be kept either microfiche or hard copy, and there is nothing to be found post 1998. We went and I went in, we lost our fence. The town put in a new fence for us because the South Walkway, when we were putting it in, fell down. The town replaced the fence in the exact same location it was for the last 27 years without a permit, without a survey. The tsunami wave took out 90% of our fence. Heidi asked us to please take down the chain link as quickly as possible because she hates chain link. We agreed to it. We had to wait for turtle season to be over and we had to wait for a lot of other things. When we were able to, we immediately went in with a DEP permit. I put in the permitting for the town. I put in a plan. And I asked Jackie if she needed anything else. She said, no, you should have it in 2 or 3 days. I did not have it in 2 to 3 days because I kept asking, where is the permit? Turns out 2 or 3 weeks later, we have a new engineering group who wants to serve it. My husband and I are putting the location, we were told to go ahead and put it in without the permit start because Heidi hated the chain link, get it down as quickly as possible. We started the work and unfortunately now we've had a stop work order put on us. It is in exactly the same place. We are being taken to a special master this week. I see my time is almost up, but I will tell you, I'm asking the commission and the mayor to alleviate the special master, alleviate the time and the money it's going to take. We basically have adverse possession of that land. We are within our survey boundaries. It has been there 30 years in the same location. It is ridiculous to take us to a special master. I don't want to go beyond this. We don't want to have a problem. I think this town, it's time to move on from lawsuits and everything else. And I think it is time that we try to be as neighborly as possible. The fence and the wall is in exactly the same position it has been for 30 years. We have not gone beyond anything. If anyone goes there, they can see pictures, trees. They're in exactly the same place they have been for 30 years. It's adverse possession if we really want to get technical about it, but I really don't. I just want to be able to move on and skip the special master meeting and allow to finish the wall so that we have the safety and the protection to our neighborhood and to our home that I think we all deserve.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Did you want to mention anything? I mean,
No.
yeah, I mean, the commission isn't in a position, I think, to stop this special master hearing. So. Okay.
I think we might have another.
Oh, do we have?
I just, yeah.
Great.
Hi, I'm Butch Harper and I'm one of the residents here. I just wanted to say, hearing, I think as a resident, we're all glad that that Freeman issue is over. And it was, I think the way you brought it up was appropriate. It was straight to the point. I think in terms of I think, a lot of people raised, how much was the $500,000? I'm telling you, I thought 6 months ago, estimating this thing out, and I had nothing to do with it, but I know the facts pretty well of what happened. I really thought this thing was going to go $2.5 million. This was a very fair verdict. And they brought it on the bottom end. Again, I wasn't the lawyer on it, but that's just about it. That was a damn good number. And I'm glad about it, but because it caught, if we would have been a trial on what would have gone in, the damage it would have done to this town would be irreparable. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Verdict is no additional liability.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a settlement, so there was no verdict issued by a judge or by a jury. It was just a private settlement, just for the record. Let's move on to the consent agenda. I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes from the January 12th, 2026 meeting.
Make motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, ordinance on first reading. I'll go ahead and read the ordinance, or do you want to read it? If you want to give
I
it.
can go ahead. Sure.
Go ahead.
Read the title, an ordinance of the town of Jupiter Inlet, Colony, Florida, creating section 27 of the zoning code relating to the establishment of procedures for the review and approval of certified recovery residences, and amending section 20 of the zoning code, providing for implementation, providing for severability, providing for conflict, providing for an effective date.
This is something that we have to do pursuant to Florida.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah, this pertains to certified recovery residences, which are more commonly known as sober homes. And this is something that's come down from Tallahassee. They've mandated that every municipality in Florida has to have certain procedures for making reasonable accommodation requests for these certified recovery residences. I think it's kind of a moot point.
Well,
And-
here, given the cost of real
Yeah,
estate is
yeah.
probably not gonna happen, but you still need to have something on the books in the event that something does happen.
Correct.
I feel like I need one after this meeting.
Okay, all right. And the language used in it is just really tracks with the statutory language.
Perfect. Okay, so this is a public hearing. This is a ordinance on first reading. There will be a second opportunity to speak to this ordinance. Is there anybody in the public that would like to speak on this item tonight? Seeing none, I'll turn to the commissioners. Is there any commissioner that would like to speak? Okay, so then I'll go ahead and close the public hearing and look to somebody to make a motion to adopt on first reading.
I'll make the motion to adopt the ordinance on first reading.
I'll second that. A motion is made and seconded to adopt ordinance 2026-01 on first reading. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, all opposed, motion passes 5-0. New business and so this is gonna be a review of the front end entrance enhancements. This was presented, I'm not sure we need any, I'm gonna try to handle this without. So a presentation, because everybody was here last meeting. We'd asked Heidi to work with the committee to kind of break up the different phases of you, if you will, of the project. There was $20,000 being donated by the garden committee. The ask was $20,000 matching, at least from the town for this fiscal year. The monument sign area, which I think it's shown there on the screen, which everybody has in their packet, is this. It would include $11,000 total. Is that how I read that?
Correct.
Okay, so we could, with $40,000, we can essentially do the monument sign and the south side, it sounds like, of the entrance. Is the commission generally in alignment with doing those two phases of the project not to exceed $40,000 before we open up to public comment? Is there directional alignment to that? Okay, so is there any public comment to that? Seen, okay.
This is just off the cuff.
Cindy.
Yeah, just
Oh.
if you don't mind, just so the folks online can hear you.
Off the cuff, I speak loudly. I'm Cindy Kime, president of the Garden Club, and I just want to say that we worked very hard can you hear me?
There you go.
We've worked very hard trying to come up with a plan with our architect, Steve, and we have, it's it's actually for 4 different, we've divided it up into four phases.
Right.
So if we were to do the monument, which I think was like around $11,000, the wall, the one side, the wall of condos would be around $19,000. Is that right, Steve? Was give or take. These are all estimates, because until we actually get the plants, get a landscaper to do this, and she has to find the plants, you know, who knows what they're gonna cost, but and they're all probably gonna be about the same, but we won't know exactly what it's gonna cost. We have irrigation right now, we have electricity right now. Irrigation is probably gonna have to be redone, but the electricity is probably, we might not have to tweak too much. But so you know, this is the way I've thought it out. If there's some way, the garden club could probably come up with $2,000 or $3,000 more. I just don't want to leave the garden club without much money. We need to have some money in our, in our account. But I think we could probably come up to like 23. So if there's any way that we can come up with a little bit more, we might be able to do some, if not all, of what I call it the dollhouse. The clock, the front side, the clock tower. We might be able to do that as well. And if we do all the stuff together, then the price would probably be better than if we did it piecemeal, because they're gonna have all the equipment there. And they're gonna have all the workers there. And it would all, be put in about the same time. We've been advised that the end of March is probably a good time to do it. Is that correct, Steve? If we can do that, just because we should have missed the cold weather. The winds are dying down. And we have several months before the hurricanes. We have to start worrying about the hurricane. So it's all, we can all fit it in. It would be lovely if we could all do it. We could do the whole thing together, but it's about $19,000 to do the wall. And if we did, we were gonna do a mirror planting on the other side, the north side of the road as well, so that they were the same, and then they would grow at the same time. But we haven't, we, the garden club, our town garden club does not have that kind of money, any extra money. So, and we're gonna do the best we can, and we hope that, everybody will appreciate all the hard work and the amount of money from both the town and from, garden club.
Thanks, thank you.
I have a
Sure.
question.
Yes,
If we did do the north side, the
Yes.
dollhouse and the clock tower, how much more would it be?
it's.
About $30,000 more. That's what we have in our board pack.
Okay, I think it was, the way I remember, I don't have the amounts, well, Steve probably has it in his, but it was like $11,000 for the monument wall, it was around $10,000 for a little less than $10,000 for the clock tower, and about 19,000 and some change for each side of Colony Road.
Yeah, what I would say is tonight, I think there's consensus to do the south entry drive and the sign. Not a consensus to do anything else from a
Okay.
budgetary standpoint.
Okay,
And what I would encourage you to do is stay close with the town manager as we prepare our fiscal year budget for 26, 27. Perhaps you could present something where we can do the remaining part, or maybe just part of it. It's gonna be up to the commission to kind of earmark those funds. But I think tonight, the monument sign area and the South Entry Drive can get approval to move forward. And because I hear that there's consensus on that, we're gonna have to vote on that, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So I guess I'd be looking for a motion for that from one of the commissioner.
Yeah, I'd make a motion to approve the monument sign and the south side.
Okay, there's a motion, and that, I'm sure the maker of that motion is gonna agree that the cost shall not exceed $40,000.
Correct.
Okay, is there a second?
I second it.
Okay, it's all in favor? Aye. Okay, motion passes with $40,000 to do the two, and then as we go into next year, perhaps, depending upon what our budget situation is, we can, accomplish a little bit more. So thank you for all
thank
the
you
hard
very
work.
much.
Thank
The
you.
one thing that I want you to understand is the garden club doesn't, we're not money-making group.
You're not taking payroll.
So we don't have any more money.
I know the feeling.
Unless we come up with some plan to make some money, but anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Town manager, you want to give an overview of the town insurance?
Sure, this is, a item to approve health insurance for the employees. Our renewal for health insurance is in March of every year, and our renewal for dental and vision is in February of every year. The amount for our dental and vision is not changing. However, our premium for health insurance is going up approximately $2,000 a month. That is at 8 employees. I expect to bring 2 more employees through existing budgeted positions on in March, early March. So our premium will actually go up once they come on, but until I know what insurance package they're taking, I won't know that full cost. This is a benefit we provide our employees. In the past, as we all know, this was not something that was brought to the commission for approval. So I don't want to say it's a rubber stamp. It is for your consideration, but it is something that we have obligated ourselves to our employees at this time.
What's the pleasure of the commission?
I think it'll be competitive in the market, we should be offering insurance. I don't know, is there a 60-day or for new employees? Is it immediate or?
It's been immediate, so the first of the month following when you start.
Could you talk a little bit about, I mean, obviously, I'm not in the public sector. And we've had at least one conversation about this in the past, and that is, at least in the private sector, my employer provides me health insurance and I pay 30% of the approximate cost of what that health insurance would be. Since I have children, obviously, I I get dependent coverage and spousal coverage, and I pay a greater portion because of that. In the public sector, is it commonplace to cover 100% of the entire family?
In my experience, and I've worked for, I think, 5 different municipalities over the last 25 years, it is pretty common to provide for the employee.
Right.
Cover the employee, and most of what I have seen, except for a smaller community that paid on the lower end of the scale, actually, it is more common that you pay a certain percentage or amount for your family. For example, at my last municipality that I came from, I paid about $450 a month for coverage for my daughter. Here, we cover 100% for the entire family. You can senior backup if we are covering, which there's 2 instances in which we do a full family, which is spouse and children. That's in the $3,200 a month range versus $1,300 for just the employee.
Right, so when you do your overall comp analysis, was this piece missing from overall comp analysis in terms of competitiveness in the marketplace?
No, this was not included, but this was not included from a data monetary standpoint, but we knew when we were taking the 6.7 increase and not the 12% increase, this was a benefit we offered. I do think, and I've shared this with each of you in private conversation, I do think at this budget time, this upcoming budget season, we will need to explore this because this is not sustainable for us, as small as we are. I have reached out. There are no other municipalities that pool together in Palm Beach County. There is instances of that in Miami-Dade County. No one here that I have been able to identify. I asked the entire Palm Beach County City Managers Association, and no one stepped forward that they do. Everyone said they don't.
Because we get penalized because we have such a small pool.
Exactly. And we're even smaller than small, right? It's 50 is the threshold, but when you have less than 10, you pay by age. Once we hit 10, we will at least get the composite rate, which is in front of you now. So when I had talked to our broker, I explained, no, I know by the time we renew, we'll be closer to 10. So we are doing the composite rate. I do think going into next budget year that we should have a discussion about the employees starting to walk into covering some of that expense. Maybe not full, maybe not a full 30%, using that number that you just used, but some kind of number in exchange. It is a high deductible plan is the other side of it. So it's not the friendliest plan. It's the best that we can get. There's definitely higher deductibles, but it is a $1,500 deductible. So at the salary rate some of our employees are, that could be close to a paycheck for other deductions.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not advocating now making a change, but to your point, this could potentially be, not something we want to continue in perpetuity. And again, I'm not sure it's commonplace, even in the public sector.
And I can start.
Anomaly, as I have seen anywhere, that 100% of the entire family gets paid. That doesn't happen in the private sector anywhere.
Yeah, and as we go into the budget season, we can definitely pull other municipalities around us.
Yeah, I
for
think
that.
that'd be helpful. I think that'd be helpful.
It's a very difficult conversation, but
They
it's a
are.
fiduciary responsibility.
I don't like to even bring it up in a public setting.
Yeah.
I get it. But I think it does need that, as we go into next year in the budget cycle, it should be at least an item that we have on the table for discussion. Okay, so if there's any other discussion on this item? See none, I guess if you're looking for a motion to approve to enter into Florida Blue for, what's the term?
Until March, the policy runs until March.
Okay, so
For
1 year effective March 1 to March 1?
Yeah,
Okay, somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve Florida Bloom. Please.
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And Madam Town Manager, do you want us to give a brief overview on the agreement with Danmark Development for the North Walkway?
Yes, so this is an after the fact approval due to timing. If you recall, we had a meeting in November and you authorized me to engage with Coast Seawall. They are the ones who did the west observation deck. We had some leftover funds in our budget.
Yep.
To do the stairway. DEP was on board, our town engineer was working behind the scenes very quickly on all of this. Coast could not come to the table at the end of the day for doing scheduling and some other issues. So we quickly pivoted last month to Danmark. Danmark has done work along our coastline for residents. So they have built these staircases most recently in the last year. So with turtle season upon us, I did sign the agreement. We can accommodate the 38,000 that they have proposed through the savings from the deck still. And then we had some extra money for road repairs outside of the lighthouse and other work that we're doing. So I'm confident that we can accommodate it. Work is under construction at this time.
Estimated completion date?
The Gantt chart I have says February 20th, but as we all know, it is February in Mother Nature, so that's all I'll say. But if we, we have turtle season, but if we have to hire a turtle monitor, we will, but I hope not.
And how much more was this bid over the first?
So they ended up coming in around 25, so this was about 13 more, but their bid did not accommodate the equipment.
The access.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess we're looking for a motion to authorize the town manager to execute the agreement with Danmark Development to construct the stairs at the North Walkway.
Make a motion for that?
Seconded
I
by
second.
Sharon, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, none, motion passes, and looking for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for.
Yeah.